Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Look, the bottom line is this. This plan puts us on a path to beating the virus. This plan gives those families who are struggling the most the help and the breathing room they need to get through this moment. This plan gives small businesses in this country a fighting chance to survive. And one more thing. This plan is historic. Taken all together, this plan is going to make it possible to cut child poverty in half.
Whoa. This plan is huge. Massive. They passed it over the weekend. It's got to go to the House now. They'll make a couple small changes. It'll eventually go up to the president, which he will sign. And there you go. Done. I mean, it was going to get done. It was just how big was it going to be? Can the Republicans do anything at all to stave off some of this insane spending? Remember, there's still $1 trillion from the last plan that's not been spent. Like, this is a person, like, this is government right here. They're sitting at a buffet. They've got tons of food. They've eaten a portion of it. And they say to their friend who's like, oh, I just got here. I'm going up for, hey, can you grab me some more? Just get everything. You want some vegetables? A little bit of vegetables. Just give all the other stuff. You're like, you're not even done with the other plate. Yeah, it's okay. I want to make sure I have more. And maybe bring me another, just an empty plate, because I bet you'll have to go back a little bit later. What? Kind of what it feels like. Should have been about the people. That's the way I looked at this. Everything else they could have dealt with down the road. Let's deal with the individuals, small businesses. You know what I'm saying? I mean, does that sound wrong? I think for some people it feels wrong. To me, it felt right. But instead, here we go.
There's much more to this bill, but for now, let me make one final point. When I was elected, I said we were going to get the government out of the business of battling on Twitter and back in the business of delivering for the American people, of making a difference in their lives, giving everyone a chance, a fighting chance, of showing the American people that their government can work for them. And passing the American Rescue Plan will do that.
Americans don't want to be rescued. They want to work. Right? Is this just me? I mean, I feel like that's what Americans want. Go back to that thing I always talk about. T-Rex doesn't want to be fed. He wants to hunt. People want to get out and work. That's what they want. They don't want to sit around and wait for them to come bail us. Oh, could you come bail us out? Could you please come bail it? No. Allow people to get back to work. That's what people want. Some industries in some states are suffering tremendously. Other states are wide open, as we know, which, of course, pisses everybody off because that's what it's all about, apparently. Like I said last week, it is mind-boggling the want of people to see Texas fail as if somehow they get magical bonus points. Well, Texas failed, so that's great for all of us. Because the thought of Texas succeeding, and I'm not talking about leaving the country, although they would like to, and succeeding in opening up and allowing people to live their lives, that angers people. And the thought of a state that's potentially a red state doing that, oh, God, I don't care who it is. Look, somebody's going to have to do it eventually. Somebody's going to have to take that step and move forward. They decided to do it. Now, will it work or will it fail? I don't really know. I don't know. I think there's going to be some bumps along the way, but I also think there's going to be some things like, oh, look at that. But when you think about this is Dr. Olstholm. What do we talk about over the last couple? It's nothing is ever good enough. Nothing is ever good enough. It's always something else. There's always some other monster around the corner. There's always something good. And it's over. So here they come again. It's another thing.
We're walking into the mouth of the monster. We simply are. The virus that we're really concerned about and have been for recent weeks, this B117 variant from the United Kingdom, is a virus that is 40 to 60% higher in terms of its transmission. It is equally so in terms of creating severe disease as opposed to a milder disease. And yet right now that virus is about to take off in the United States. We literally are sitting on top of that at a time when instead of actually getting better prepared for it, we're opening up and inviting the virus in.
Because what were we told? 2 weeks to stop the spread, right? Then it was flatten the curve. And every corner we turned, it was something else. My son's on day like 350 of his 2 weeks being out of school. So most of you are feeling it as well. I brought it up last week. I think it's about personal responsibility. You'd be surprised how blasted I got. How dare you talk about that? What do you mean? What do you mean, how dare I talk about that? Personal responsibility. Not at a time like this, because some people can't be responsible. I said, well, you know what? You're responsible for you. If other people aren't responsible, I'll say, well, it could spread. It could absolutely spread. I go back to, I don't do anything. Here's what I did this weekend. We had a cage delivered because I moved we were moving our big lizards, and we had a giant cage. Boy, that was a nightmare. We had a cage delivered, right? So I've already had it. So let's just not forget, I don't go anywhere. Saw very few people this weekend outside of wearing my mask, going in, paying for my golf, driving around and spending probably 8 hours each day by myself golfing. I still managed to get it before, doing virtually nothing. People are frustrated. They feel like every time they turn a corner, they get told, hold on, brace yourself. And listen to Ulsterholm here again, talking about masking, realizing that people, and by the way, I have a lot of friends who are very liberal, some are progressive, some are just regular old Democrats. They're over it as well. They feel like this entire situation, even though they think Biden's handling it better, they feel like this entire situation is overcooked at this point in time, because they feel like there's never any good news and that there never seems to be light at any of the end of the tunnel.
We have to acknowledge that what is the public likely to do? If we just tell people that they've got to stay cocooned, that they've got to stay in their homes, that they've got to continue to wear their mask even though they're fully vaccinated, they're not going to do that. They're going to disregard the public health recommendations. So we have to get real. We have to be practical. And I worry a little bit that we will basically stay with this idea, do this or else. And so I hope that the CDC guidance acknowledges that people are not going to do the extreme of staying masked through 2022. That's just not going to happen.
Through 2022? He's like, we realize it now. So the thought process is, if you could, you would get everybody masked until 2022. Is that a bad thing? Yeah, because you know what? Every time it seems to be, oh, okay, well, we're just going to mask, or you're just going to say socially distance. So you go and you get a vaccine, and like, we realize that if you get the vaccine and, you know, we can't ask you to stay inside your house and away from people with a mask on. Yeah, because if the whole thought process is I get a vaccine, I'm ready to get myself out there in the world, or other people are. You go and you get one or two, depending on which ones you get. You've done everything right for the last year, and now you're telling me, you know what? You still got to do the same thing. People are going to say, why? Why do all this if everything's going to stay the same? Because you want to be safe. Well, I could be safe. I stay indoors all day. People are frustrated. They don't feel like they're getting real answers. They don't feel like there's a clear objective of where we're going. Nobody is saying, here's the roadmap. By this date, it is go time. By this date, everybody in America should have enough vaccine opportunity to be vaccinated, and then we can start to do what? Get on with our lives. Instead, it's we'll see.
It's really big progress to have enough vaccine supply for all adult Americans by the end of May. The actions by the president, including using the Defense Production Act and bringing Merck and Johnson & Johnson together, have accelerated our ability to have enough vaccine by the end of May for all adult Americans. Yesterday was 2.9 million shots in a single day. So we're making real progress by increasing the number of vaccinators in the field, and we've increased the number of places where Americans can get vaccinated.
Okay, great. All of that sounds fantastic. So if you go, you get a vaccine, and you get both shots, well, what if you could transmit it? I mean, are we going to live like this forever? Is that a fair question? Well, it's not that way, silly. No, I mean, isn't that a fair question? Why isn't there ever any good news? Why isn't there ever any like, hey, once we get around the corner here, we're gonna set a date for when we're getting off this ride? Because the control is real. Politicians love tragedy and opportunities to control out of it. They never let anything like this go to waste. You can be respectful and responsible. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Man, I'll tell you what, I got some differing views on the Royals. I'm just going to tell you that right now. I do. I got some differing views. I watched some of it with Meghan and Harry.
Bombshell revelations from the Duke and Duchess of Sussex sitting down with Oprah, accusing the palace of racism inside its walls. The Duchess alleging that it was not her or Harry who didn't want Archie to have a royal title, but the institution itself, and that the baby would not be provided with security.
True or not true? I mean, there was some bombshell. We're going to touch on that. Because Producer Anthony and I, we had a deep discussion. And I just want to tell you guys this. She's an actress. Let's remember that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. A lot of stuff to get to today. More of that. Cuomo, he ain't going anywhere. It doesn't matter at this moment in time. He ain't going anywhere. George Floyd, jury selection today. Can they even find an impartial jury there? Should they move it? Could they move it? You can touch bases with me, 323-538-2423. That is the line you can text at. You can also check us out at Chad Benson Show. And check us out on the Instagram as well. Also at Chad Benson Show. Home title lock. Deborah said, I couldn't believe we were being evicted from our own home that we did not sell. It's happening more and more. People are taking out loans over and over again. So I've had my identity stolen. So I've got like 3 or 4 companies to protect me. And if anything happens, I'm alerted to it. And I've got everything locked down. It's crazy. It is crazy. With your title, it's all public, right? All public record. A thief can go online, visit your county recorder's office, find out some things about you, which is not hard to do because everything's public record. And then for a few extra bucks, get a copy of your deed. All of a sudden, they forged everything, including a fake notary. They own the title and your home, and you don't even know about it for months until you start getting phone calls about why you haven't made a payment to your loan that you took out on your house. That's how easy it is to do. Home Title Lock is here to protect you. They alert you immediately to anything that takes place, no matter what it is. No matter if they're going in and dotting I's and crossing T's just to make sure everything's okay or they forgot something, the title company, it doesn't matter. You'll know. With Home Title Lock right now, you can see if you have already been a victim. Go to HometitleLock.com, register your address, see you've already been a victim. Get 30 days free protection. Use code radio. HometitleLock.com, code radio. HometitleLock.com, code radio. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show, where we reach across the aisle and occasionally poke someone in the eye.
They didn't want to make Archie a prince. Do you think it's because of his race? And I know that's a loaded question, but
I can give you an honest answer. In those months when I was pregnant, so we have in tandem the conversation of he won't be given security, he's not going to be given a title, and also concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he's born.
What? Hold up. There's a conversation with you?
With Harry.
About how dark your baby is going to be?
Potentially, and what that would mean or look like.
Ooh. Is that possible? Of course, anything's possible. Anything is possible. It's the royal family. Hashtag cancel the royals or whatever. Or cancel the monarchy is trending right now. Cancel the monarchy. Cancel the monarchy. The monarchy's weird. I'll say this. Having lived over there, it's different. People go there to visit. But then when you're there, the royals do love their monarchy. And Di became something. Because what the thing about Di was, she was, her family had a bit of a title, hence the reason she was able to do, get married. But at the same time, she was the commoner. Like Meghan Markle was not a commoner. Like, Princess Diana, she became the princess for the people. But Meghan Markle isn't. Meghan Markle's an actress, right? She's stunning. She's an actress. She's got all the things going for her. She talks about, being just now she feels great.
And also that we have the ability to make our own choices in a way that I couldn't have said yes to you then. That wasn't my choice to make. So as an adult who lived a really independent life, to then go into this construct that is different than I think what people imagine it to be, it's really liberating to be able to have the right and to be able to just make a choice on your own and just be able to speak for yourself.
You knew what you were getting into. You knew what you were getting into. Period. Don't tell me you didn't know. All right? Don't tell me you had no idea. So, I will break something down. Sophie Reese was a friend of mine. She is now married to Prince Edward. They've been married since 1999. You know what you're getting into from the beginning. It's not like it should be like, oh my God, I can't believe that. No, you may be able to do all the things you want now. But yeah, you know exactly. Like, I know today, all you have to do is watch that movie, King Ralph. Watch the movie King Ralph. It'll tell you everything you need to know. What you can and can't do, what you can and can't say, where you can and can't go, how everything has to be run in a certain way. Watch King Ralph. That's all you got to do. There's the blueprint of what's going to go on. There's a way that they do things. There's a way that they go about things. There's a way that things have to be routed in such a way. It's crazy. I'll have more on this, and I'll tell you what Sophie went through. So she was our former publicist at a station I worked with, and she helped me with a lot of different things when I was over there. And we'll talk about that. It's very interesting. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the programs to Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Look, I was really ashamed to say it at the time and ashamed to have to admit it to Harry, especially because I know how much loss he's suffered. But I knew that if I didn't
I'm gonna do it anyway.
Say it, that I would do it. And I just didn't want to be alive anymore.
Because it's about me. What's it really about? It's about me. I was ashamed to say it, but I'm going to say it. It's about me. It's about me, Harry. I wanted to be a princess, and I got to be a princess. I wanted to be a princess, so I got to be a princess. Yay! Look, I don't know. Look, you go back. The royals are the royals, right? We don't have royals here. The closest thing we had to royals with the Kennedys, and then you've got the Bushes and the Clintons. If you want to say they're royals, that's about it. Those are powerful families. We don't have monarchy, which is phenomenal. Their monarchy, by the way, it's nothing. It's a tourist thing now. They don't really have their influence is much different. It's about bringing people there to see the palace and the whole nine yards. They're not making day-to-day decisions. But the whole thought of I wanted to be a princess, but I don't. And no, you know what? Here's the other thing. You're not his mom. People loved his mom. You're an American. That's a little different, right? Secondly, is the color an issue? 50 years ago, absolutely. Now, I don't think so. Look, Harry is the least royal of all of them. But I watched some of this stuff and I thought, I feel like she's an actress. I do.
Harry, raised in a palace, in a life of privilege, literally a prince, how you were trapped.
Trapped within the system, like the rest of my family are. My father and my brother, they are trapped. They don't get to leave, and I have huge compassion for that.
The impression of the world, maybe it's a false impression, is that Prince Harry, the beloved, that you were enjoying that life.
There were photographs of me smiling while I was shaking hands and meeting people. That's a part of the job. That's a part of the role. That's what's expected. No matter what's just happened, you got to get dressed, you got to get in there, you wipe the tears away, shake off whatever you're thinking about.
Yeah. Look, I wouldn't do it. So when I was working in England at Talk Radio UK, Sophie Rees-Jones, she was our publicist, and she helped me with stuff. I was doing some stuff with Cartoon Network in the whole 9 yards, and she was great. And she was starting to date a royal, and slowly but surely it started to come out who this person was kind of courting. It was Prince Edward. So we know about Andrew, we know about Charles. People don't realize there's Prince Edward. He's the Earl of Wessex, by the way. The things that she had to go through just to go on a date were insane. Then they went on a holiday weekend to like Cornwall, which is like a beach area. And that was massive news. And once that happened and it became real, here comes your publicist. And oh, by the way, she's got guards. You kind of get what you're getting into, right? You kind of understand that. Just a smidge. Like I say, if you really want to figure it all out, go watch King Ralph. Kind of explains a lot. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. Speaking of somebody who's not a prince or a king, likes to think he is, Governor Andrew Cuomo. I said last week I think he's more of a mobster. I think him and his brother want to be mobsters. They don't have the cojones for it. Can't pull the trigger. So they did the next best thing, which is legalize criminality, which is becoming politicians or in the media. He's got another accuser that's come out.
She has been a long time political adversary of mine, highly critical for many, many years, and has made many, many accusations.
That is Karen Hinton. Now, is that a possibility? Yeah. The beauty of our country is we have due process, and I think we need to let the process in itself play itself out, where a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, once everything started coming out, the Me Too movement started to take off, due process was there was no due process. You were guilty, period, case closed, end of story. You know, I don't know what happened here. Former aide says Cuomo hugged her in an inappropriate hotel embrace. She says, Mrs. Hinton says, Governor fears truth the most. Is she an adversary? Potentially. Is she wrong? Maybe. Could she be right? Sure.
People are free to make allegations, but then we also have a process of due process where people get the facts and then they make a determination.
That's what it should be. That's exactly what it should be. This is Charlotte Bennett. She sat down with Norah O'Donnell talking about Cuomo. What happened? Like I say, allegations are allegations. You then gather the facts. You gather all the data. You gather everything you can. Then you present them. That's part of the due process, and then people will make said opinion.
Cuomo's former executive assistant, Charlotte Bennett, says the governor asked her intimate and inappropriate questions about her personal life. All, she says, in an attempt to sleep with her. Do you believe that he was propositioning you?
Yes.
For what?
Sex. The pandemic was obviously stressful for all of us. He was on TV nearly every day.
Make that gown look good.
So you think all this national attention may have emboldened him?
Absolutely. I think he felt like he was untouchable in a lot of ways.
Ooh. Was he? Was he untouchable? So, remember, he's a single dude. Okay? Single guy, divorced, single. So, it's not like he's running around cheating on his wife if he's dating somebody or whatnot. More often than not, when you're going to have an affair or when you're going to date somebody, a lot of times it comes from work. Let's not forget today's a world where we live with not how it was meant, like, hey, I didn't mean it that way, but you took it that way. Is that a possibility as well? Yeah. Is it absolutely a possibility that he thought, ooh, she's hot, I'd like to get with her?
The governor started asking her about her love life and then became fixated, repeating over and over again her history as a sexual assault survivor.
You were raped. You were raped. You were raped and abused and assaulted. And then he explains at that point that he is looking for a girlfriend. He's lonely. He's tired. The governor asked me if I was sensitive to intimacy.
In his office?
Yes, during the workday.
Okay. Very interesting. It's just very interesting. She sounds credible. I'm not saying she doesn't sound credible. She absolutely does. This is what the due process is about. Is there other things? Did he text you? Did he do those things? These are things that you need to ask when you break things down. If you're an attorney on both sides of it, you're trying to figure out what are they going to come at you with? What are they not going to come at you with?
He asked me if age difference mattered. He also explained that he was fine with anyone over 22.
And how old are you?
25. I thought, he's trying to sleep with me. The governor's trying to sleep with me. And I'm deeply uncomfortable, and I have to get out of this room as soon as possible. Without explicitly saying it, he implied that I was old enough for him and he was lonely.
But that's how you took it. If I'm sitting there, think about it, if you're sitting at a jury, he implied, well, did he come out and say, I want to sleep with you? Well, no. He asked about you being a sexual assault survivor. Okay, they do a lot of things with sexual assault. You could start breaking things down. This is how you go about doing this. It's not about saying she's a liar, because she could have very well thought, you know what, he really wants to sleep with me. And on the other side of things, he could have just been, hey, and I'm no fan of Cuomo, by the way. I'm just trying to paint a picture on how this will break down.
When I was even thinking of coming forward, I think that was where I held the most shame. I feel like people put the onus on the woman to shut that conversation down. And by answering, I was somehow engaging in that or enabling it, when in fact I was just terrified.
People will watch this and say, why didn't you get up and leave?
It didn't feel like I had a choice.
He's your boss.
He's my boss. He's everyone's boss.
No, he's not. He's a human being. And human beings can be Richards. And you go to somebody and you say, you know what, this happened. And that's what you do. End of story. End of story. You go to somebody and you say, this is what happened. This is how I took it. I'd like you to look at it. I'd like to be transferred. You go and you do those things. But people are afraid. We live in a world now where everything is 24/7 in front of you, where you don't have to be afraid anymore. Are there people out there that are jerks and Richards? Yes, there are. Are there people that could make your life miserable? That's everyday life all the time. If not for this, then something else. If you felt that strongly, you go and you say something. You go and you say something. It is that easy. It's not for some people. Maybe not for some people. Most people, if you felt that way, you go and you say something. And you let the chips fall where they may. That's it. And then that's when the due process comes in. Again, due process.
These allegations are serious, but I believe you need to let this investigation go forward. They're looking into it. Wait till that investigation is completed before you have a rush to judgment. I've seen that happen and it doesn't work well. The rule of law is our bedrock of who we are as a country, and I want to make sure that everyone has their opportunity and fair chance, and that's what it should be.
Joe Manchin right there, because a lot of other Democrats are starting to say something, but they're also saying he deserves due process. He deserves due process. Yes, he does. Then they asked him over the weekend, hey, are you going to resign because of all this? You're starting to get pressure from the Senate. You're having to basically give back your powers, your emergency powers. People are asking more and more about whether or not you should be there, even people within inside your own party, not just at the state level, but at the national level. What should you be doing? Will you resign?
There are some legislators who suggest that I resign because of accusations that are made against me. I was elected by the people of the state. I wasn't elected by politicians. I'm not going to resign because of allegations.
All right. There you go. He's not going to resign. He's saying, nope, not doing it. We'll find out. If there's more, will that push him out? Well, it's a toxic work environment. What's a toxic work environment? It's a toxic work environment. You know, he's mean, he's loud, he's angry. Oh, all right. I go back to, I work with a lot of mean and angry people. You know, what makes you, like, who was it? Who was the, oh, God. Who was the senator that was running for president and everybody came after her? And it said, oh, it's, you know, she's really angry and mean and she's tough. And I'm like, that's toxic? It's not toxic. It's a tough work environment. There is some of that. And there's a difference. It crosses a line at a certain point. But somebody having a bit of a temper, that doesn't make it toxic. It doesn't. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love hearing from you. And if he did do these things, then he's done. Period. Case closed. End of story. You get him out of there. He resigns, goes away. And if he did anything more and it got to a point where it became criminal, then absolutely you pursue charges. But you let it play out the way it's supposed to, based on due process, gathering evidence, gathering facts, gathering data, and then presenting them and going from there. I know we've lost that point now because we have cancel culture or whatever you want to call it, where you can just, in the world of public opinion, get rid of somebody. This is different. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Twitter, tweet, text the program. Wounded Paw Project, amazing organization. I've been working with them for, well, about 2 years now. They rescue dogs that would be euthanized inside of shelters. And we're not talking about puppies. We're talking about older dogs at times. Sometimes dogs that come from horrific situations where they were fighting dogs or bait dogs, and they train them. And they get them to our veterans, first responders, and their families. And the work that they do is incredible. It truly is their motto: to save a paw is to save a life. They understand what's going on with veterans coming home and struggling after being in war and in situations where, you know, it's been so awful that getting back to a normal way of life, it's a tough transition. They train these dogs to be service dogs, and they need your help. Anything you can do, gift of a vehicle, if it flies, it floats, doesn't matter, they'll take it. Great tax-deductible gift. Find out how you can get involved by going to woundedpawproject.org, woundedpawproject.org. Like I say, any kind of vehicle whatsoever, motorcycle, ATV, doesn't matter. Woundedpawproject.org. You'll be saving a paw to save a life. Chad Benson Show.
Hashtag me too. Hashtag immigration reforms. Hashtag help. I'm trapped in a hashtag factory and I can't get out. The Chad Benson Show.
This guy gotta wear the damn mask. I'm wearing a mask. I need to get to Vegas. I have my sunscreen. I'm wearing a mask. You're not wearing a mask. You're not wearing a mask. I'm wearing a mask. I'm going to Vegas. I'm wearing a mask. What do you want from me? I'm wearing a mask. What is this? I'm wearing a mask. Bye. What do you want from me? I'm wearing a mask.
Oh my God.
Wearing a mask.
Can we all agree that once the mask thing goes away, it's going to be good? She was trying to go to Vegas, if you guys didn't know. Oh, God. That was 37,000 feet. She was not wearing a mask over her nose, right? Is that what they call it, a chin diaper? My mom says people freak out with my little brother because he has a trach, and it's got like it's got a medical filter that you're never going to find on any of these masks. The N95s, the real ones, aren't even, like, his doctor's like, you know, in theory, this thing's better than anything else, you know. But people freak out because he doesn't wear a mask, and my mom has to explain to them because people will lose their mind. They're like, "What do you want him to do? Well, he should be wearing a mask." He said, "Why should he be wearing a mask?" Because he doesn't breathe through there. People, he doesn't breathe through there. He doesn't breathe through his nose, doesn't breathe through his mouth. But people lose it. Oh my! I cannot wait till this goes away. Just for the drama of stupid masks. Now, with the stimulus passed, I know many of you are asking, when you getting that check?
Because these changes were made in the Senate, it does have to go back to the House. And while some progressive members there aren't happy with these changes, all signs indicate that they will get this done. It will be on the president's desk later this week, letting Biden sign this bill before those unemployment benefits expire on March 14th. And then those direct payments could start going out within a matter of days. Americans can expect to get these checks this month.
Woo! Checks this month. That's when you can expect it. Some of those changes people are not happy with. People are really angry with some of those things. But it's coming. Now the question is, are we going to be able to get through this in a timely fashion where we won't need the government to come in and bail people out again because states will have opened up and people will be back to living their lives? Or are they going to come back, say, April, May, and ask for another $1 trillion or $2 trillion? That, I think, will happen. More of a chance of that than them opening up where people are working again across the nation. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show Twitter. Tweet and text the program. Chad Benson Show TV is your YouTube. And also check out the Facebook as well. Oh, my Lord. First hour down. First day of the week. What? Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
After a marathon session that went through the night into Saturday, the Senate passed the $1.9 trillion COVID relief package, bringing President Biden closer to a legislative win.
I promised the American people that help was on the way. We've taken one more giant step forward in delivering on that promise.
The final vote, 50-49, falling along party lines.
Can I just say this? I know that you promised the American people that help was on the way. A lot of this is self-inflicted. People want to be able to get themselves out of it, right? Government, you're here to help. That's great. Fantastic. Normally that's a scary thing. But you're here to help. You're going to get checks. I don't think it ends here. I think there is another one of these right behind it. Absolutely. I think there is. Now, will somebody say, no, we haven't spent $1 trillion already from the last one. I keep using this analogy. We got a buffet. You go up there, you get all the food you can, right? It's piled on top. You ever been to a buffet like that? It's piled on top. Oh, my God. It's all garbanzo beans are just falling off. You come back over, get halfway through it, and then you tell somebody who just arrived that's going to be hanging out with you, hey, go get me another giant plate of stuff. You're not even finished this one. And bring back a plate just in case I want to go up again. That's the way I feel about this. I think we could have focused on a few things, which is what we should have done, and then worked out some of the rest later. But that's not what happened. This is why having abortion of the House or Senate where it's on your side can help in a lot of ways. But I've also told you that Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin will be as much a friend to the Republicans as they've got. And they don't have a lot of friends right now. The House is still squarely in the hands of the Democrats, albeit they gave back a lot more than they thought they would. But the 50-50 is very interesting because Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema are both very powerful now. And she pissed people off because of the $15 an hour thing. So people were, we're going to get you now because that's what happens. And Manchin, again, pushed back on several different things.
They had veto power. They could stall this whole bill. It really was Joe Manchin that did just that on this one. He wanted to keep weekly extended unemployment benefits at only $300 a week. President Biden had proposed bumping them up to $400 a week. He kept it at $300 a week. The kind of compromise was that they would be guaranteed through the first week of September.
Yeah, so now you got unemployment. Now, remember, that doesn't even count your state unemployment. So your state unemployment and now this Fed. So for some people, okay, great. There you go. Oh. But we're still in the middle of all of this. We're still in the middle of this insanity when it comes to the coronavirus. And it doesn't seem to be looking like for some people that there's going to be some sort of end. It just seems like it's going to get worse. Is it possible it could get worse? Absolutely. Is it possible it could get better? Well, with vaccines, the amount of people that have actually had this thing, whether they were asymptomatic and never knew it, or whether they had it, knew it, and they got through it, with vaccines, we should be heading towards, in some places, I would think, some sort of herd immunity. But wait, there's another boogeyman.
We're walking into the mouth of the monster. We simply are. The virus that we're really concerned about and have been for recent weeks, this B117 variant from the United Kingdom, is a virus that is 40 to 60% higher in terms of its transmission. It is equally so in terms of creating severe disease as opposed to a milder disease. And yet right now that virus is about to take off in the United States. We literally are sitting on top of that at a time when instead of actually getting better prepared for it, we're opening up and inviting the virus in.
So there we go. Opening up, inviting it in. Come on in. Come on in. I don't know if that's true. I don't know what's true when it comes to a lot of this stuff. Follow the science. Well, he said something that she doesn't say. She says something he doesn't say. They both seem to say some things that kind of cross. And you're like, okay, but then they say some things are completely opposite. This group over here doesn't like what he has to say because it looks like we could emerge from this thing sooner. This person over here, some people over here on this side, they don't like what she has to say because it feels like it's going to be forever. Listen to what Dr. Osterholm says here. This is great. Oh, we can't ask people to do this, but we'd like to.
We have to acknowledge that what is the public likely to do? If we just tell people that they've got to stay cocooned, that they've got to stay in their homes, that they've got to continue to wear their mask even though they're fully vaccinated, they're not going to do that. Right. They're going to disregard the public health recommendations. So we have to get real. We have to be practical. And I worry a little bit that we will basically stay with this idea, do this or else. And so I hope that the CDC guidance acknowledges that people are not going to do the extreme of staying masked through 2022. That's just not going to happen.
But it sounds of it, Dr. Osterholm, you would love it to happen. So you want us to get vaccinated and to wear a mask and to stay cocooned in your homes for what? Just out of curiosity. I mean, again, I'm asking the questions. You want us to do all of those things. Okay, so let's say we do all of those things through 2022. How does that look? What's the economy look like on the other side? Chad, the economy you're worried about? No, I'm worried about the economy because people are starving. The mental health issues are tremendous. Kids, as far as self-harm from 7th grade through high school, that's up 300%. I'm walking through the steps here of what it sounds like you're pushing for us to wear a mask for at least through next year. Well, he's saying that. No, he's saying we can't because people won't allow it. We can't because no matter what we would like to do, at some point, there's always a breaking point. And when you get both sides who are coming after you, the right and the left, the non-maskers and the maskers, that, whatever you want, when they're both coming, well, then you got a problem. We have to learn to live with this thing, through this thing, and around this thing, and most importantly, right now, above this thing. We have vaccines. We're going to have enough. It looks like by spring, to pretty much get everybody who wants one. Isn't that what it's about? Let's get everybody one. Who wants one? What if you don't want one? You should be forced to get one. No, you shouldn't. Personal responsibility. I got hammered for that. How dare you talk about personal responsibility? People can't be responsible. I'm not talking about you being responsible for other people outside of your kids, right? I'm talking about you being responsible for you. I'll be responsible for me. It's the best that we can do. People will do stupid things. They will. By the way, people have done stupid things forever. Long before we got here as a species, animals were doing stupid things. There are still animals that do stupid things. And we, as a species, as we've evolved, we continue to do stupid things. Hold my beer moments are not new to just our society in our time. But responsibility for yourselves. Giving people some social distancing when you're in tight spaces. Don't go in places that you think, you know what, I'm not, comfortable with this. And I'm just going to live my life the best I possibly can and do all I can to make sure that I don't spread this thing and get my vaccines. But once you got those things, you should be allowed to live your life. I don't know about you. It sounds like they would like to continue to keep everything status quo for as long as possible. And the only reason places like New York and California are even loosening up the opportunities to get back out there is because they're terrified. Gavin Newsom is done. If he doesn't, he may be done anyways. That recall, that's going to happen. Now, whether or not the person that goes up against him is going to win, that's going to be debatable. But at the end of the day, he's not jumping out of this thing because science magically changed. It's because the political side of things have changed. And to politics rules all. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. The Royals spoke, kind of the Royals. Definitely some bombshell situations out there. And people are going to start asking some serious questions. One thing that Meghan Markle and Harry didn't do, they didn't destroy the Queen.
I thought one of the things that was interesting about the interview was that they clearly took a great deal of effort to be very positive about the Queen. They spoke very warmly of her, yet at the same time giving such a damaging assessment of the institution of which she is head.
Yeah. But it was interesting to watch. But some of it, I don't buy it. I'm sorry. I think that I didn't know what I was getting into. You knew what you were getting into. You totally knew what you were getting into. Nobody goes in there and goes, I don't know. What do you mean I got it? Yes, there's a thing. And Harry was always the outsider. Right? Harry was always the outsider. His brother was always following in Charles's footsteps. There was more to it. Harry could do more. Prince Andrew could do more. Prince Edward could do more. Yeah, there's the third one. Talk about him later. Harry was in the military and wasn't in like one of these military situations where he just went in there by name. Oh, no, look at me. No, he went in there and he was in there. He flew missions. He did stuff. He was always a bit more like his mom than his brother, who's a bit more like his dad. But her, man, I tell you what, something. Hope it's worth it. Your whole family doesn't like you. I don't think the brothers get along that well. But it was very interesting to watch, and I want to see what the palace is going to. Oh yes, you cold in his faces, are you? Oh, are you? Time for us to cancel the monarchy. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Happy National Women's Day. Because it is National Women's Day.
History does not operate in a straight line, and that it's about persistence. Understanding that women are leaders, but also that women have always been leaders.
Absolutely. You want to look at that? Look at the West. Men may have fought their way out here, but women helped settle the West. It's huge. And now women dominate. They've disproportionately suffered in the she session that's going on, but they were more women in the workforce than men. More women graduating college and going to college than men. It's come a long way. I'm sure it's never enough. But happy National Women's Day. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet and text the program. Love hearing from you. Rough Greens, RUFF Greens.com/Chad. That's They got Canine VitaSmart. It's what I give my dog Doodle. We talk about Doodle. I also give it to my puppies. I want my puppies to start out great. One's about 1.5 years old. The other one's about 1 year old. And I want them to start out in a great situation where they don't struggle with anything. And they are happy, healthy. They love it. It is not dog food. You sprinkle it on your dog's food, and then guess what happens? It brings your dog's food to life. It's magical. It's fairy dust. It's got vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega-3, 6, 9. It's got all of these incredible things, and they love it. They love the taste. Right now, Rough Greens wants you to try it and see the difference. The thing it's done for my dog Doodle is it's helped with his horrific arthritis in his hips and his fatty tumors. He's bouncy. He's happy. It's amazing. Try it for yourself before you buy it. RUFFgreens.com/Chad. Roughgreens.com/Chad. Free bag. You pay for shipping. That's it. You can call 833-MY-DOG-77. 833-MY-DOG-77. Free bag. You pay for shipping. Rough Greens. They make any pet food better. Chad Benson Show.
I can't take it anymore!
Well, get over it. It's time to forge a new path with your very own political cartographer, Chad.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? All right, let's do it. Let's find out what's trending. Let's do it. Let's do it. Do it, Chad. What's trending? What's happening? What's the haps? Lots of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. After their giant interview. Big interview with Oprah. Big ratings, big money. They just want to live a normal life in their $15 million home, just like everybody else. Oh, Chad. Yeah, tons of that. We're also supposed to hashtag respect Shakira. For those of you guys who don't know, her hips don't lie. But she was shamed, apparently. She was. At a football match. It's a soccer match, for those of you guys not keeping score. Her boyfriend, they've been together for a long time, Gerard Piqué, is, I think, the captain of Barcelona. It's Messi's team. And so, everywhere they go, people will come and say horrible things. Misogynistic and evil. No, football. It's awful, it's stupid, and it's childish. She'll be okay, though. Trust me. She'll be okay. She's tougher than that. She's absolutely tougher than that. Head on over to Google. Meghan Markle. Yeah. 5 million plus people yesterday searched that. International Women's Day today. Lots of searches for that. Dan Jewett. You don't know who he is? He is the new husband of Mackenzie Scott, who used to be Mackenzie Scott Bezos. So there was that. They got married. That was quick, right? Like, because he had himself a girlfriend. Then the whole thing, they split up. And then, boom, she's got herself, I think he's a teacher. Just some regular dude. Good for her. Look at that. Does he keep his gig? Like, honey, I don't like kids. I gotta be honest with you. I just like to hang out. I don't want to work. Oh, jeez. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. That whole thing with Meghan Markle and them. This shows you, though. It's like, we do. It's fascinating. We don't have it, so it's fascinating. We don't have royals, so we're fascinated by that stuff. 323-538-2423. Tweet, text, love hearing from you, Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
68% in a new ABC News Ipsos poll approve of President Biden's handling of the pandemic, including 35% of Republicans. More than half say loosening mask mandates and restrictions on public gatherings is happening too quickly. Nearly 3 in 10 in the poll say they've already received at least one dose of a COVID vaccine. More than half say they've not attempted to schedule a vaccination appointment yet.
Yeah, I always thought he would do a good job. I mean, he's got the empathy that I think a lot of people felt that Trump didn't have. Trump didn't pay the kind of attention that a lot of people wanted him to pay. For me, I never expected him to ever be some sort of leader when it comes to, like this empathetic kind of person. I never ever did. What I expected him to do is be kind of a, nonsense, matter-of-fact kind of guy, say we're going to get through this thing, and we go. He kind of just disappeared rather than anything else. Became all about getting reelected. And would it have been different if Trump would have been in a situation where it wasn't an election time? That's a possibility. But it was. It was an election time, and because of that, there you go. We all know what took place, and here we are. But I expect most people over the year that are going to get this opportunity to have a shot. I expect most people will get it. And since this thing came out, I said, look, let me tell you something. Areas, people of color, right? Understandable why you're wary to get a shot. Totally get it. Some elderly people, understandable why you're wary. That's why the Johnson & Johnson to me was always the game changer, because it's going to be in areas that people will feel comfortable. It's going to be with your doctor. It's going to be at your pharmacy. It's going to be at the, like the local grocery store I go to. They've got one of those clinics inside of there where, you can get the flu vaccine and all of that, stuff. So it's people feel comfortable. I shop here. I know these people. They're my pharmacist. That's my doctor. So I've always thought that was going to be a really good thing. So, yeah, I expect most people to get this. The mask thing, that debate is going to be around for a while, because it doesn't seem like, for some, they want to keep the mask as long as possible. For others, they want to get rid of it as fast as possible. They want to have like a mask burning celebration, which is, you saw that was in Boise, Idaho, where people were burning masks. People are frustrated. They are. And I think a lot of it is a situation where the frustration comes from the lack of ever thinking we're getting any better, right? And never really understanding, why are you telling us we got to do all of these things, get this, get a second one, but you still can't see your grandkids, you still can't do this, you still can't do that. It just seems like a situation where people are like, well, what can I do? Because I'm doing everything you ask, and everything seems to change. And there's going to be parties, man. There's going to be burning, mask-off parties.
Tourists pouring into Florida, which has more cases of the UK variant than any other state.
Florida.
Potentially bringing the virus back home. This as Texas and Mississippi roll back mask mandates and restrictions. Texas's mask order set to end Wednesday, raising concerns in Houston, where so-called mask-off parties are reportedly being planned.
Yeah, people upset. Remember Biden last week about the whole thing with Abbott in Texas?
I think it's a big mistake. Look, I hope everybody's realized by now, these masks make a difference. We are on the cusp of being able to fundamentally change the nature of this disease because of the way in which we were able to get vaccines in people's arms. We've been able to move that all the way up to the end of May to have enough for every American. And the last thing we need is the Neanderthal thinking that in the meantime, everything's fine. Take off your mask. Forget it. It still matters.
Look, you don't have to take off your mask. Nowhere, like business is already saying, no, we're still going to require you to wear one. So you don't have to do that. You don't have to go outside. You're not being, unless you have to go to work, right? Like I can't, and they can't fix that. So if your job's asking you to come back, well, then I guess you'll have to make a decision. Do you want to work there anymore? Nobody's telling, yeah, you got to do this. You can still wear a mask. You can still not see anybody. You can stay 6 feet apart from people. You can, all of those things remain. Nobody's forcing anybody to do any of those things. And I think the majority of people in Texas will still probably do it. Especially in the bigger cities. Dallas, Austin for sure. Houston, I would assume so. And I think a lot of businesses are going to do it. Other states are stepping up as well. Mississippi Governor Tate Reed.
In our state, throughout this pandemic, our approach...
By the way, we call him Tater, where I come from. Tater Reed.
In our state, throughout this pandemic, our approach has been to not only protect lives, but to also protect livelihoods. We have to get our economy rolling so that individuals can get back to work, and I think that's critically important. The fact is we have seen significantly reduced levels. And oh, by the way, unlike President Biden, who wants to insult, I actually trust Mississippians to make good decisions. They've proven throughout the last year that they can do so. The fact is, the numbers don't justify government interaction at the levels that we're seeing in other states.
They may get it wrong. But when you listen to Dr. Osterholm, we touched on it earlier, listen to him. I have a feeling if he could get his way, we would have another 16 to 18 months at least like it is now.
We have to acknowledge that what is the public likely to do? If we just tell people that they've got to stay cocooned, that they've got to stay in their homes, that they've got to continue to wear their mask even though they're fully vaccinated, they're not going to do that. Right. They're going to disregard the public health recommendations. So we have to get real. We have to be practical. And I worry a little bit that we will basically stay with this idea, do this or else. And so I hope that the CDC guidance acknowledges that people are not going to do the extreme of staying masked through 2022. That's just not going to happen.
No, it's not. I mean, to me, it's just it's to think. Let's go back a year, right? Because it's a year this week, by the way. It's a year Thursday that everything changed. It became a pandemic globally. Stuff started shutting down. Remember, like overnight, businesses were shut down. People were being sent home. Basketball, the NBA said they're going to be done. Yesterday, I watched the golf, the Bay Hill Arnold Palmer Classic. That was the last sporting event in golf that had fans, right? I'm out here in Arizona. What took place? Within a few days, all of a sudden, baseball, everything here, spring training, all shut down. And you're like, well, okay. And then it was, as they start to get stuff down, look, it's going to be 2 weeks. Right? Stay at home. Let's stop the spread. Then it was going to be, you're going to be wearing a mask. And on top of that, we're going to do it another couple weeks or a month. And it's to flatten the curve. And then here we are a year later, and people are still looking around going, I feel like if it's up to you, Dr. Osterholm, I'm listening to you there. And my sense is you feel like you have no choice. Like if we don't allow people to live their lives, they're going to revolt. So we better let them do that. Yeah. Isn't that what it should be about? It should be about personal responsibility. Well, some people aren't responsible. I understand that. But you can be responsible for you. I can't ask you to be responsible for your neighbor. I can't ask you to be responsible for somebody up the street or across the country. You can be responsible for you. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Remember over the summer, the horrific killing of George Floyd, Derek Chauvin, the officer. Here we are almost a year removed from that, and now it's time to find the jury. And it's going to be very interesting. We were talking about, like, who could you even find that doesn't have an opinion about said story?
There's high security for a case with even higher stakes. Barricades, razor wire, and extra fencing. Inside, access to the 18th floor courtrooms severely limited. The families of Chauvin and George Floyd only get one seat each. And it'll be live streamed.
Yeah, so they're going to live stream the entire thing. But it goes back to the jury selection. And this is usually where you ask attorneys that do this for a living. This in many cases is the number one thing. You're looking to find that jury. The one or two on the jury that you think, oh, you know what? I think this one right here, I can do that. Especially in a criminal trial. Civil trial is totally different. But you're looking for that one or two jury that you think, if you're the defending, attorney, Who do I think I can get to sympathize with our side of the case? But it's a high-profile case. The world watched what took place over the summer. The world watched a lot of things when it came to this. George Floyd's name went global. So finding a jury, can you find a fair jury? And if somebody goes, I didn't really hear it. I don't even know. What are you guys talking about? Like, you're like, that guy? I don't want that guy. Either they're lying or they're an idiot.
They will spend time interviewing these potential jurors, and they don't need to find someone who has never heard of this case. They need to find a juror who's unbiased and willing to follow the jury instructions in front of them, to follow the law. That's not the same as finding someone who's never heard of the George Floyd case and what unfolded.
Yeah, but who doesn't have an opinion? That's a real issue, because nowadays everybody has an opinion about everything. So who doesn't have an opinion? That'll be tough. Could they move it? I doubt it. It's going to take a while to get this done before we get to that process. But this will be interesting to see the way that this thing breaks down. Of course, they're going to look at the gender. I know we can't talk about gender, but they will look at the gender, male, female. The race side of it, people of color, are they represented? Are they not representative? Is it all white people? Is it all people of color? There's going to be all kinds of things that go into this before we ever get to that, and then it's going to be live streamed, which will be very interesting. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. AMAC, Association Mature American Citizens, fastest growing over 50 organization in the country. Amazing organization. First of all, they're out there fighting on your behalf for things like, H.R. 1, which is just an awful bill that is insane. And we touched on it last week a bit, and we'll touch on it a little bit more. Fighting for common sense immigration reform. Fighting for things like making sure Social Security and Medicare are solvent. On top of that, they've got retail, restaurant, hotel discounts, travel discounts, discounts on health insurance. Maybe you're over 50, but you're not quite 65. You don't know what to do. They can help you with that. Life insurance, travel discounts, amusement park movies, you name it, they've got it. Now's the time to join, $16 a year. Go to amac.us/Chad, amac.us/CHAD, amac.us/Chad to join today. Chad Benson Show.
Deep states? No. Deep doo-doo? Yeah. The Chad Benson Show.
Taylor Swift, Megan Thee Stallion, and K-pop superstars BTS are among the 22 performers just announced for the 63rd Annual Grammy Awards. Swift is among those with the most nominees, 6 in all for her Folklore album, the same number as fellow performers Dua Lipa and Roddy Ricch. So far, Beyoncé, the year's top nominee with 9 nods, isn't scheduled to perform, but we've got a week for that to change. Music's biggest night happens Sunday, March 14th.
Is there still a biggest night in music? I always wonder if there's a biggest night in music anymore, because everything is so niche and splintered, and yet everybody kind of works the same, and I don't even know. These kids nowadays, I don't even know. What's this music you guys listen to? What's this music? And now even the younger generation is fighting with the other generation. This is great. So I, being of sound mind, am a Gen Xer, right? Nobody really cares about the Gen Xers. You've got the millennials and then Gen Z. And it's funny now because Gen Z and the millennials are fighting with each other. Because nobody cares about us, right? And the funny thing is, go see what was invented that the Gen Zs and the Gen Xers love so much. The Gen Xers, welcome to the world of computers, right? It was the baby boomers and the Gen Xers that came up with so much of this stuff. And then the millennials have taken it to a step further. But now the Gen Z are coming out and they're ready to roll. They're throwing down from jump.
there is constantly a competition between Gen Z and millennials. Well, here's the thing, Gen Z. Millennials shouldn't be trying to dress like 14, 15, 16-year-olds. And I hope that when you are 28, 29, 30, you're not trying to dress like 14, 16, 15, 16-year-olds. So when you see a millennial not wearing the jeans that you want them to be, maybe you just shut up because they shouldn't be. You should be actually worrying about people. You know what? No, you just keep your opinions to yourself because you're literally 6 years old. You're 12. You don't know nothing. You don't even know how to do anything. I don't even care about your opinion. I don't care about what you have to think about anything. We are part of the fashion development to get where you were today. So shut up about it. I don't even care what you think.
She's going to make somebody very miserable. Probably a lot of people. My goodness me. I think it was something about fashion. Something about fashion. Fashion. What do you guys think about fashion? I think I wear jeans and a T-shirt, maybe a collared shirt every once in a while. That's about it. It's my fashion right there. Shorts a lot of the time. I went outside the house. I'm just give you guys a little taste of this. Producer Phil, how cold was it where you are right now?
Oh, 30 degrees.
70 degrees when I went outside the house at 3 this morning. 70. It's delicious. Soaked it up. I'm in shorts and a T-shirt. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Lots of vaccines this week, which is great. Get them in people's arms. Get us closer to getting ourselves to some sort of herd immunity. And along the way, let's talk about the plan for the future. For when there is a breakout here and there, how do you handle it?
All of the nearly 4 million available Johnson & Johnson doses have already been sent out, but Pfizer and Moderna should be keeping pace with more than 15 million combined doses expected to be distributed this coming week.
Again, things that I would like to know. How do you handle a future breakout in certain areas? All right, that's a fair thing. I know it's a states thing, but federal government, you're probably going to send guidelines down that you would like the states to follow. Doesn't mean they're going to. Second thing is, why aren't you giving us a time frame of when you think that we'll be at a point where we can at least start thinking about some states an actual off-ramp? Other states have already exited. They're already doing their own thing. But a lot of other states they're going to be in limbo. Why aren't you talking about that? Those are all very good questions that should be answered. And they should also first and foremost be asked, which I don't see a lot of them doing. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. And by the way, to me, an acceptable comment is one where you actually give something where there's something of substance. Saying, I don't know, or I can't make that kind of promise. I get things could change. President Biden, I get that. But at some point, you got to have to take a stand and say, you know what, this is when we think we're getting our lives back out there. This is what I'm suggesting. And go from there. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
We have to acknowledge that what is the public likely to do? If we just tell people that they've got to stay cocooned, that they've got to stay in their homes, that they've got to continue to wear their mask even though they're fully vaccinated, they're not going to do that. They're going to disregard the public health recommendations. So we have to get real. We have to be practical. And I worry a little bit that we will basically stay with this idea, do this or else. And so I hope that the CDC guidance acknowledges that people are not going to do the extreme of staying masked through 2022. That's just not going to happen.
Dr. Osterholm. No, it's not going to happen. By the way, the CDC just said that if you have been vaccinated, you can be in small gatherings of other people who have been vaccinated without wearing a mask. But should you go into public, make sure you use caution. Thanks for that. No, people aren't going to. God, the frustration, and I feel it with you. You know, I've been, just like you guys, have been going through this thing for a year. I don't see my son as often. Now, when I get him for a week at a time or maybe 2 weeks, but then I'll go 6, 8 weeks without seeing him, 9 weeks, 10 weeks. It's frustrating. I don't get to go out and see him as much. I'm doing everything. I have been the person that has been extra cautious. I work with people I know who are afraid to catch this big time. In fact, I work with a couple people who won't even meet with clients unless they take a COVID test. And they won't come into the office whatsoever. They're terrified. I absolutely understand that. I wear a mask. I do all the things I'm supposed to. I still manage to get it. But to think for a moment that we could be at this a year, 2 years from now would be insane. I mean, it's government's greatest dream, right? Like, oh my God, you guys have to come to government now to get all of your needs met. You know when I say stuff like that, people are like, Chad, government doesn't think that way. The hell they don't. Of course they do. They love it. Government loves to be needed. What keeps them in power?
Look, the bottom line is this. This plan puts us on a path to beating the virus. This plan gives those families who are struggling the most the help and the breathing room they need to get through this moment. This plan gives small businesses in this country a fighting chance to survive. And one more thing. This plan is historic. Taken all together, this plan is going to make it possible to cut child poverty in half.
Great. That all sounds great. Except for, why didn't it just have to focus on some singular things, like taking care of the people, if that's what it was really all about? There's so much crap inside of this, so much pork inside of this, so much just stuff it full of stuff. That's what they did. That's what they wanted to do. They eventually got a lot of what they wanted. Not everything, but they got a lot.
Now we can finally start to imagine what a full recovery looks like because we have the missing piece. Now we have the one thing that was held back from us for months and months and months when it was needed most.
Mayor de Blasio, what's that? Other people's money to do all of the stuff. Other people's money. That's what's missing. Other people's money. We needed other people's money. No, what we need to do is help the people that have been hurt by this, but then also plan to exit this crazy-ass ride and allow people to get back to work. Do it. We can do it in a cautious manner. We can do it in a manner that is respectful, but we need to start thinking about this. Other people's money is what you need to cover a lot of the things that you don't have right now, which is money because you shut down the city and there's no tax revenue. You've overpromised in many ways to many of the unions, and now it's crazy. It's crazy. Remember, we still have $1 trillion unspent from the last one, which was December.
The Senate has never spent $2 trillion in a more haphazard way or through a less rigorous process. Voters gave Senate Democrats the slimmest possible majority. Voters picked a president who promised unity and bipartisanship. Democrats' response is to ram through what they call the most progressive domestic legislation in a generation.
Yeah, Mitch McConnell there. Some of this stuff is insane what's in here. The amount of money for states, the amount of money for those things can be handled down the road. This, I thought, was about the people, and that's the way it always ends up. What we talked about last week, right? You roll something out with the cute and fuzzy. Save the penguins, save the whatever. And then inside of it, you put all kinds of stuff. And then at the end of the day, if you're like, I'm not voting for this, there's a bunch of crap in here. They're like, well, it's because you hate penguins. Like, totally. It's what I hate. I hate penguins. This should be about families that are hurting. This should be about making sure that businesses have the opportunity to get up and running and do what they need to do to survive. That's what this should be about.
The unrelated liberal policies are simply endless. It's like they've forgotten we have a pandemic to fight. This plan piles way more debt on our kids and grandkids than we need to spend right now. That's Larry Summers, Bill Clinton's Secretary of Treasury. The Democrats' extra cash bonus for laid-off workers who stay home will result in more than 60% of workers earning more money by staying home than they'd earn from returning to work. It's borrowing from our kids and grandkids to pay yet an additional cash bonus for not working.
Yeah. Education funding. Okay. But our kids are going to be going to school. $10 billion for infrastructure. More for Cobra. And you start breaking it down and you're thinking, okay, well, some of those things don't sound bad. Then you start getting to some of the other stuff that's in here. And you're like, well, hold on a second. There's a lot of stuff in here that's just feels... look, unemployment, why do we have to extend it through till September? Right? Why do we have to do that? Why do we have to extend some of these things? Why aren't we talking about the other trillion that's out there that we haven't spent and what we could do to spend some of that? Because, once again, so much of this stuff, especially for states that are hurting big time, inside of these things are a lot of the reasons they're hurting is, well, it's pretty simple. It's because they've overspent and promised too much. And now we're going to pay for it. For a very long time, we're going to pay for this.
Stay tuned, keep good cheer, stay hydrated, but this is a debate worth having, and I regret very much that we could not find common ground here. Find it, you have to seek it, and this is the one area where we were doing a pretty damn good job, I thought, working together as Republicans and Democrats. Today, we're going to spend a lot of money, most of it not related to COVID, and it's going to be along partisan lines. It's unfortunate, but it's a choice my Democratic colleagues made, and we're going to hold them to that choice.
Yeah, there you go. There is a lot of stuff in here that's not COVID related. Oh, well, if that's what it's about, the money's for state and local governments, $350 billion for that. That's massive. Why couldn't we done stuff down the road? Just curious. Why did it have to be this time? Why are you already talking about a next one? Oh, well. Because they'd like to see us in this situation, I think. Chad, that's not... Yes, it is true. They love being wanted. They love to be needed. They love that people have to come to them for stuff. That's what makes them. That's why when you watch politics, what do? One side's the boogeyman, they're the heroes. And then vice versa. Vice versa. That's the way I'm going to make you a monster. And I'm going to be the hero because I'm the only one who can defeat the monster over here. I'm it. So you better put me in place so I can defeat the monster. It's amazing that the monster's never defeated. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show was your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Then you have to ask the question, what about kids, schools? Are they ever going back?
I think the likelihood that we're going to be ready to vaccinate grade school kids is very unlikely, at least this year. I think that's really a 2022 event, probably, looking at the studies that need to get done. I think it's probable that we will be vaccinating high school kids at some point this year. One of the vaccines, the Pfizer vaccine, is already approved down to 16. And so I think we'll be in a position to be ready to vaccinate high school age population sometime this fall, maybe not at the start of the school year. And so you'll be looking at vaccinating ninth grade and above, getting it into that high school setting. Then we'll have to contemplate whether we put it in middle schools and junior high schools.
Dr. Gottlieb, I don't think, for me, Jack, we've touched on it. I wouldn't. He's 10. He doesn't need it. He'll be fine. The flu's far worse than this for children. So I'm not worried about it. And if you are worried about it and you've got a reason to be, somebody at home is potentially somebody who can get really sick off of it. That I totally get. But outside of that, I just, and this is going to be a while. And some states, I mean, like I said, New Mexico last week or 2 weeks ago said they took a poll from their teachers after they were pushed to the front of the line about, hey, you know what? We've taken a poll. We'd like to see the kids get vaccinated first before we come back. It's like, no, that's not the way this works. Is this going to be the new thing for some places? It's about getting the kids back at school. This isn't about you at this moment in time. It's about them. Getting you vaccinated, vitally important, but once you're vaccinated, it's time. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Twitter, tweet at us, Raycon, best earbuds around. I used my Raycons a lot this weekend. Played golf Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It was a lot of golf. I probably played, I don't even know how many holes over those 3 days. I mean, do something with the client on Friday, and then yesterday, Sunday, I played all day. Like 8 hours. Practicing, playing holes, practicing on the holes. It was crazy. I had my earbuds on the whole time. My Raycons. Seamless Bluetooth pairing. 6 hours of talk time, but the listen time seems to go on forever and ever. It's like wizardry. And the price, that's amazing. The price is incredible. How about this? They start well under $100. Now, with all of that, you think those are great, but then the piece that matters, the actual fit of it, the noise isolating fit separates Raycons from everything else. If you're saying to yourself, I need a good pair of earbuds, I need headphones, I don't want stems or wires, this is what you need. Raycons. Get them now. Save an extra 15%. Start under $100. Simple. It's easy. BuyRaycon.com/Chad. 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 Chad Benson Show.
I'm so tired. I'm exhausted.
If you're part of the politically exhausted majority, don't fear. Your time to be validated and rejuvenated is here. Wake up. It's the Chad Benson Show.
It was Saturday night when the parties just off campus at the University of Colorado turned into what police are calling a riot. Tear gas was used to disperse about 800 people. A car was tipped over. Windows were broken. Now students are saying it was in response to COVID rules that have hampered their ability to party and have freedoms.
This is a culmination of kindred spirits that have come together to put on something beautiful. A rebellion.
Police and the university say they will take action against those identified.
Just wanted to let you guys know that we've come together as one unity of love, that are here to do love and unity stuff, and as a rebellion to these archaic and devilishly evil things, we will not stop at all. We will make this happen. But how can that be? Because people are over it. You just have to be smart about it. And the more that you try to clamp down, it's nature that will want to push back. The more that you try to hold that and to try to control it, it's nature that will push back. And I don't think people get that. You know, I just sit here and I'm like, man, but when you listen to Dr. Olstrom, I keep going back to this day, because if you listen, to me it sounds like, well, we can't, I'd like to see people mask up forever. It's not what he said, Chad. Well, we can't tell people to mask up and isolate until 2022? No.
We have to acknowledge that what is the public likely to do? If we just tell people that they've got to stay cocooned, that they've got to stay in their homes, that they've got to continue to wear their mask even though they're fully vaccinated, they're not going to do that. Right. They're going to disregard the public health recommendations. So we have to get real. We have to be practical. And I worry a little bit that we will basically stay with this idea, do this or else. And so I hope that the CDC guidance acknowledges that people are not going to do the extreme of staying masked through 2022. That's just not going to happen.
Not through 2021. He said through 2022. That, to me, is a little disheartening. You had Biden on numerous occasions over the last 2 weeks. Well, I can't tell you if things are going to be better this time next year. I hope so. I'm not asking for you to tell me whether things will get better. I'm asking you to just say, look, this is our plan, and this is what it's going to be. Right now, if your goal is to allow this thing in some ways to dictate it so you can dictate us, that's not going to work. It's not. We have to learn to live with this thing, through this thing, around this thing, and most importantly, above this thing now. We've got vaccines. We're getting very, very close to having a therapeutic, which is awesome.
It's called molnupiravir. Molnupiravir. Here's what it is. It's a medication that stops the virus from reproducing. It may be the holy grail on this because it literally stopped the virus in its tracks and there wasn't any virus found in the patients that were studied. But only 182 people were studied, so it's still quite small. And we have to see going forward what it looks like in thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. Remember, therapeutics change everything. Because even with the shot, when the flu, there's a good chance you may still get the flu. And what happens? Millions of people get the flu. What do they have?
Now, if this works, and it's very promising, it's something you could take right when you get it. You get the diagnosis, see the results of your test, you pop this pill for 5 days like you do for Tamiflu, for flu, if you're in a high-risk group. This might be the future once the vaccine really gets control over the pandemic and we just start seeing isolated cases. By then, this drug might be ready, and this might be the drug for over the next several months.
There you go. And that's huge news. That right there is massive news. Dr. Mark Siegel. I'm sure somebody will be like, oh, no, it'll never work. It's going to be awful. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Cuomo's former executive assistant, Charlotte Bennett, says the governor asked her intimate and inappropriate questions about her personal life. All, she says, in an attempt to sleep with her. Do you believe that he was propositioning you?
Yes.
For what?
Sex. The pandemic was obviously stressful for all of us. He was on TV nearly every day.
Make that gown look good.
So you think all this national attention may have emboldened him?
Absolutely. I think he felt like he was untouchable in a lot of ways.
Norah O'Donnell, for what? For sex, silly. Duh. Oh. Still not going anywhere, though. He has made it absolutely 100% clear. He ain't going anywhere.
There are some legislators who suggest that I resign because of accusations that are made against me. I was elected by the people of the state. I wasn't elected by politicians. I'm not going to resign because of allegations.
He's not going anywhere, kids. He's sticking around. He's seeing this thing through, whatever it is. Does she have some damning accusations? I think, look, you know what? I don't know if she's right or wrong. I don't. I have no idea if what she's saying is the truth. I have no idea if both of them are right, meaning she took something in a way that he didn't mean it, because that could also be true. She also says he's just a lonely cat.
The governor started asking her about her love life and then became fixated, repeating over and over again her history as a sexual assault survivor.
You were raped. You were raped. You were raped and abused and assaulted. And then he explains at that point that he is looking for a girlfriend. He's lonely. He's tired. The governor asked me if I was sensitive to intimacy.
In his office?
Yes, during the workday.
In his office during the workday, are you sensitive to intimacy? I don't, could he have said to you, how do you date? Do you date? Are you, because of what took place? Is that something that you don't do? Well, Chad, that doesn't sound bad. No. I'm as a person who is trying to be, look, let's let the due process play itself out. I'm just throwing it out there. Do you date? Would you date? Is that something because of what took place? Do you have issues with that? Is he making conversation, or, is he into you?
He asked me if age difference mattered. He also explained that he was fine with anyone over 22.
And how old are you?
25. I thought, he's trying to sleep with me. The governor's trying to sleep with me. And I'm deeply uncomfortable, and I have to get out of this room as soon as possible. Without explicitly saying it, he implied that I was old enough for him and he was lonely.
Okay, but now you're just saying without really coming out and say he implied. Well, did he imply or did you take it as such? I'm not saying she's lying. I want you guys to understand it. I am not saying she's lying at all. What I'm trying to do is to point out this is how this is going to go through the investigation. I didn't do any of that stuff. We were talking about all kinds of stuff. We do a lot with sexual assault survivors, do all kinds of stuff. I asked her questions. I'm making conversations, talking to somebody, taking an interest in them. I mean, this is the way that they will try to break it down. Doesn't mean that she's lying. Doesn't mean she's telling the truth. Doesn't mean either of them are lying. They both could have done something that they thought was totally fine, and one could have took it a certain way, and the other one could have taken it another way. This is called due process. This is why you get all of the facts, all of the data, you put it all together.
When I was even thinking of coming forward, I think that was where I held the most shame. I feel like people put the onus on the woman to shut that conversation down. And by answering, I was somehow engaging in that or enabling it, when in fact I was just terrified.
People will watch this and say, why didn't you get up and leave?
It didn't feel like I had a choice.
He's your boss.
He's my boss. He's everyone's boss.
No, he's not. You get up and you leave. I have news for you. If my boss does something to me today that's sexual in nature and assault, well, first of all, we're probably going to have some words. Just going to let you guys know that. There could be potentially some words thrown out there. Secondly, we're going to, somebody's going to be told something. There's going to be a conversation about it. But, yeah, but you're a man. It doesn't, you know what? It should be that way for anybody. And I know at times it's not. I know at times in the past it's never been. Doesn't mean it can't be. And we live in a time, today's National or International Women's Day. We live in a time where, quite frankly, women are more empowered than ever before, as they should be. 100%. So I am all about giving them the power to go do stuff like this, but you also have to allow for due process, which when the Me Too movement started, there wasn't any due process.
These allegations are serious, but I believe you need to let this investigation go forward. They're looking into it. Wait till that investigation is completed before you have a rush to judgment. I've seen that happen and it doesn't work well. The rule of law is our bedrock of who we are as a country, and I want to make sure that everyone has their opportunity and fair chance, and that's what it should be.
Yeah. Joe Manchin there. Most powerful man in D.C., arguably. But he's right. The latest person to come out, Karen Hinton, they apparently have not been pals before. And she's been a little bit vague in some of the stuff that she's talked about. He's come out and said, she's never liked me. But he also came out, Cuomo, and said,
people are free to make allegations, but then we also have a process of due process where people get the facts and then they make a determination.
There you go. Let it happen. Let it happen. But I think on this day is a perfect day to talk about stuff where you're empowered yourself. If something happens, feel free to talk about it. Go to somebody and say, look, am I reading into this wrong too? That's the other thing. Because I also think people are looking for certain things. I don't know what he's like to work for. I know that I say this, that he and his brother are both, to me, just douche canoes. That's it. They feel like wannabe mobsters that didn't have the cojones to be mobsters. Right? And his brother, Fuedo, is just, oh, my God.
There was a TV show that was all about it in the 70s, and it is the reality for too many people of color all over the country. Just looking out of the window, watching the asphalt grow, thinking how it all looks hand-me-down.
How do you know the words to Good Times?
You know I'm black on the inside. So,
good times, anytime you need a baby.
He's black on the inside. Oh, my goodness. I loved Good Times. Didn't you guys love Good Times?
Making a way when you can. Temporary layoffs. Good times. Easy credit rip-offs. Good times. Scratching and surviving.
It's a great show. It's a great show. Black on the inside. Then, of course, Don Lemon has to get serious.
There was also some frustration in the black community of that show because no one ever got on and out, right? That was a reality for many people in the country, but it was also in a time in the 70s where black people were getting a sense of autonomy and they were upwardly mobile, and that show was not a reflection of that. So there was some frustration with that, and guess what came along after that?
The Jeffersons?
We're moving on up.
That was a great song.
To the east side. And
Deluxe Apartment.
Willona.
It's like the story of Don Lemon.
Well, we're moving on up to the east side, to a deluxe apartment in the sky. Moving on up to the east side. We finally got a piece of the pie.
Also awesome. And yeah, in the 70s. Well, what do you mean? Yeah, in the 70s, that the mobility and the growth of the African American community from levels where they were struggling in many cases under the poverty line to getting into the middle class and expanding from there. We're going to talk about that. Right? It's all things have gotten worse. Every day, things have gotten worse. Those are great examples, though. What happens when you see those, though? One of the things that makes me look at those, I say, you got a family that, for all intents and purposes, is intact, right? You've got, first with good times, the talk of struggle, and the Jeffersons, the talk of success. There's a lot of things that go in there that, we don't talk about nowadays. And it's you look at either of them. It's strong male role models. And in a day and age when they're, a lot of communities, look, I look at my life. My dad was around long enough for me to good or bad, have some sort of role model. He really wasn't there for my sister. My sister was a hot mess. And my mother to this day swears, had your dad been around, I don't think it would have been this bad. Doesn't mean it's going to be perfect. But there's something to that. Thomas Sowell talks about it all the time. You go back and you look at when things really started to struggle in the African-American community and things started to fray, where government got really involved and fathers were disposable. And there was something to that. Can't talk about it, though, because we can't talk about things. We've got to be able to talk about stuff. And uncomfortable is the point where we're getting to success. And that's one of those things that we don't do anymore. So we don't talk about things because there's this fear factor of everybody's going to get themselves in trouble. And if you say something wrong, you could be done for. And that's not a place I think any of us want to live. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. They did, about the Queen and everything else. We will discuss what was said. And is Meghan the actress of actresses? Did she win an Academy Award for her performance with Oprah? Chad Benson Show.
Running with scissors sounds great compared to this.
Say
They didn't want to make Archie a prince. Do you think it's because of his race? And I know that's a loaded question, but
I can give you an honest answer. In those months when I was pregnant, so we have in tandem the conversation of he won't be given security, he's not going to be given a title, and also concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he's born.
What? Hold up. There's a conversation with you?
With Harry.
About how dark your baby is going to be?
Potentially, and what that would mean or look like.
Ooh.
Oprah, along with Harry and Meghan Markle. I don't know. They still get to keep some sort of title. The Duke and Duchess of the United States and Canada, of Winnipeg. You are now the Duke and Duchess of Manitoba. Congratulations. You're a winner. And you can also be the Duke and Duchess of Malibu. I think a Netflix comedy would be in the works for sure. So was Archie going to be too black? Now, I watched this, a bit of it, just because I'm always curious. Like, I want to see. Having lived in Europe, I have a little deeper feeling and understanding. By the way, my favorite royal of all time, although you don't really consider the royal the way we do, was the Queen Mum, who was Queen Elizabeth's mom. And she was the most beloved of all of them. Period. Just not even close. Not even, we're not even in the, as much as Di was. Princess Di was different. I always go back to, they want to compare and stuff. Princess Di, first of all, you got Meghan Markle, and Meghan Markle was famous, right? She's beautiful. She's famous. She was on a TV show. She'd been an actress. And then you've got, Princess Di. Princess Di was like she wasn't a commoner, but she was as common as you were going to get, right? Diana Spencer didn't have a lot. Her family wasn't loaded. They weren't there was just a sense of, this is, okay, you can do this. We'll put you guys together. It's going to be great for pictures. Prince Charles didn't want any part of that. He was older, right? He'd grown up in a different world than she did. And that world is different. That world is absolutely a different world.
Because I do things differently. Because I don't go by a rule book. I lead from the heart, not the head. And albeit that's got me into trouble in my work, I understand that. But someone's got to go out there and love people and show it. They see me as a threat of some kind. Every strong woman in history has had to walk down a similar path. It's the strength that causes the confusion and the fear. Why is she strong? Where does she get it from? Where is she taking it? Where is she going to use it? Why do the public still support her?
Yeah. And they drove her crazy. Living in England, it drove them crazy. Di was untouchable. The people loved her. She was the people's princess. She was and she was as powerful in so many ways as they were, with the place that does matter to them, in the public. So any move made against her, Harry's more like his mom. William, more like Pops. Much more mature, stated, blah, 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 blah. Took to it a lot better. But watch King Ralph. I said it, and I'll keep saying it. You want to see what it's like. It's a lot of that's what it is. Everything is pomp. Everything is circumstance. Everything is planned for you 24/7. When you go into that world, while you get some of the stuff that's kind of cool, the reality is you lose a ton.
And also that we have the ability to make our own choices in a way that I couldn't have said yes to you then. That wasn't my choice to make. So as an adult who lived a really independent life, to then go into this construct that is different than I think what people imagine it to be, it's really liberating to be able to have the right and to be able to just make a choice on your own and just be able to speak for yourself.
Yeah. Good. You couldn't do, but you knew what you were getting into. That's just it. You knew exactly what you were getting into. Maybe you didn't understand it. Maybe you thought there's no way. Maybe you could take it on. And he was different. Harry, you're sitting there watching. I'm like, man, I don't know. I feel like she's winning an Oscar, and he's just there because like she's really pretty and I really like her. But yeah. It's remind me of was it Mike Tyson and who was that? His wife. We did that 20 minutes with Diane Sawyer, Barbara Walters, right? The one where it was crazy. She just, I felt like she dominated the whole thing.
Harry, raised in a palace, in a life of privilege, literally a prince, how you were trapped.
Trapped within the system, like the rest of my family are. My father and my brother, they are trapped. They don't get to leave, and I have huge compassion for that.
The impression of the world, maybe it's a false impression, is that Prince Harry, the beloved, that you were enjoying that life.
There were photographs of me smiling while I was shaking hands and meeting people. That's a part of the job. That's a part of the role. That's what's expected. No matter what's just happened, you got to get dressed, you got to get in there, you wipe the tears away, shake off whatever you're thinking about.
Yeah. It was very, like I said, the whole thing is interesting. And partly because I lived over there just watching the whole thing break down. Plus, it's not COVID. It's not politics. We're not arguing. It's they get to argue amongst each other, and we get to sit back and watch them. Now, what will the Queen do? I don't know, but it could be very, very, very serious. Solid, fun show as always, kids. You have a blessed, wonderful day. We will do it again tomorrow. Night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.